And welcome into In Depth with Fox Carolina Sports. Hey there, I'm Aaron Cheslock. Of course, we are bringing you big names in local sports and going in depth to find out how they got in their position and certainly find out some background on them. And we have a great one here today. Brandon Hutchison, the general manager and executive VP of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Brandon, first of all, how you doing? I'm sure it's been a busy it's been an eventful year for sure, but it's been a busy few weeks as you guys are getting set for hosting another race coming up here in a couple weeks.
Aaron, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we're getting ready. The Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 is coming up, fast approaching, and we're excited. We had to press pause a year ago, so we've really been preparing for this race for 2 years, believe it or not.
If I'm remembering correctly, the initial pause on the NASCAR season, wasn't it race weekend at Atlanta that it happened?
It was. We were gearing up for our 60th anniversary. Everything, all systems were go, and then we had to press pause. So we were the first ones to press pause, and then we were able to come back and race without fans in June of last year.
In hindsight, now that we're a year past it and it looks like that we're starting to go over the hump of this thing, how jarring was that? And just from your perspective, all the work that went into that. And then, obviously the NASCAR season is a very small part of what the country's been through, but, you're in that bubble. If you could just put it into perspective for us that aren't in your shoes, how you guys reacted to that and just, how you'll tell the story 20 years down the line.
We're race fans and we're entertainers. So to prepare for a year to get ready for the biggest event that you have annually, and then to have to press pause as you go into race weekend is a little bit like walking through the doors of the church for your wedding and the preacher saying, oh, wait a minute, we're going to have to do this next year. It is jarring. It's nothing that we expected. It's nothing that we had prepared for. Of course, nobody could prepare for what we had to go through. But, our team here is very, very resilient. We quickly decided that, it's a bummer that we're not able to do it, but we're going to focus on when we can do it. So it's been roughly 2 years since we've had fans in the grandstands at Atlanta Motor Speedway for a NASCAR race. So I would tell you we've been preparing for 2 years. I would tell you that we're very, very excited about being able to welcome fans back into the stands. But yeah, if we rewind to March 13th, 2020, it was a bad day. Things were changing so fast. It was a very fluid situation. It continues to be on some levels, but going back to that race weekend is not something I would want to have to relive.
We always hear about the different aspects of a track and how you guys make it, year to year, and certainly race weekend is a huge part of that. I'm not 100% sure, just, being your normal NASCAR fan, how much of the revenue from race weekend, from fans and all the stuff that goes with that factors into the yearly budget and the bottom line. Could you put that into perspective for us, and how much of a hit did you guys take throughout last year?
Well, without getting into too many specifics on numbers and too deep into the weeds, we won't go into an economics class here, but I can tell you, just as every other business has been affected by COVID, we're no different, right? So when you have to press pause, especially on the cusp of the biggest weekend of your year, it's a massive impact on your overall annual budget. And don't forget, unlike other tracks, we had to press pause after we had already spent the money and did everything that it takes to put on a race weekend. We already had all the staff here. We had already paid all the vendors. There's so many logistical components to these large events that it's a massive hit, and we had to go back racing in June without fans. Don't get me wrong. We were very, very thankful that our governor allowed us to get back on track and bring live sports back to the world. But it was a very big hit. We quickly tried to come up with how can we try to generate revenue? And it was a massive undertaking for us to try to rebound from what the virus had caused here. But you know what? There's not a lot we can do about it. As I said a minute ago, we're no different than anybody else in the world that's been affected by this. So, you know, you can't really dwell on it too long. You just have to start thinking about what can we do to get back on track. And the biggest part of that, and I guess the best part of our story, is how we were able to work with the community, how we were able to partner with the Atlanta Food Bank and feed thousands and thousands of families, how we were able to partner with the American Red Cross and host multiple blood drives. Now we've been able to play a part in getting some vaccines distributed. We were able to host graduation, so the 2020 class in Henry County and Pike counties were able to walk across the stage and grab a diploma. So the financial impact was huge, but there's a much bigger picture, and we were trying to focus on that.
It's very cool that you guys stepped up in that regard. Again, we look like we're getting over the hump here, so good news around the corner. And Folds of Honor, Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 coming back in a couple weekends here. What can fans expect? I'm not sure if there are tickets still available. I assume limited capacity, mask required, sanitizer, all that stuff that we're all kind of accustomed now with sporting events. But what do fans need to know if they want to come down to watch one of the races on the race weekend, and maybe some of the other things that you guys are doing that I didn't just mention?
Well, it is socially distanced seating, so we're on a limited capacity. We're going to have 35% of our grandstands open, which for us is somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 seats. And as you said, we're going to be doing all of the things that we've all grown accustomed to over the last year. We're going to be doing some temperature checks as people enter the facility. We're going to require masks until you get to your seat. You can remove your mask when you get to your seat, because at that point, we know that you'll be socially distanced from the party closest to you. We're going to step up cleaning procedures. Not that we don't always clean, because we do, but we're going to do more cleaning than we have in the past. We're cleaning handrails, elevator buttons, countertops at concession stands and souvenir stands. We're going to add hand wash stations, sanitizing stations. So again, a lot of the things that you've grown accustomed to make sure that you feel comfortable taking your family to an event, we'll be doing those same things. And, you know, it's unfortunate that we have to limit the seating, but it's the smart thing to do. It's the safe thing to do. It's the right thing to do for our employees. It's the right thing to do for the community. Fans can expect us to put on as entertaining event as we possibly can. And with that being said, you know, everybody needs to manage their expectations because of the virus. You know, we're going cashless. A lot of the interactive activities that you would see in the fan zone will now be socially distanced, not as interactive. Our partners at Quick Trip are working real hard. They're working very, very hard to make sure that fans will still be able to have some interaction in the activities that they're able to do out here. Our partners at Feld Entertainment are bringing in a Supercross simulator, almost like a PS5, a socially distanced PS5 trailer. So fans will be able to come in and play that game. We'll have Chevrolet here as a static display. We'll have New Holland, Ag Pro, T-Mobile. So while there won't be quite as many entertainment options, we're still going to work real hard to make sure the fans have a good time while they're here. And we're not able to announce it yet, but the pre-race entertainment will be somebody that I know our fans will enjoy to see.
It's always a fun aspect of the race weekend there. Now that you've been through it and you saw the races last year, I think the last time I talked to you was before the rescheduled race last year. What was it like having a race day without any fans in the stands? It looks weird on TV. I'm not sure how much the drivers know until, you know, the winner claims the checkered there. But, you know, I'm curious from your perspective, just having been in this sport for so long, having gone through so many races, there aren't many things that, you can literally say, I've never seen anything like this before. Try to put that into perspective for us, how that felt from your vantage point.
I would tell you that it was equally as weird for us. You know, we're an entertainment venue, so we've never put on an event and told the fans they can't come. And it's something we hope we never have to do again. It's not what we do. It's not in our DNA. Again, we were very excited about being able to bring NASCAR back into Atlanta Motor Speedway and put cars on the track. So many of us had been sitting at home quarantined. No live sports were going on. All of us were going a little bit stir crazy. So for us to have the opportunity to bring live sports back to not just the state of Georgia, not just to the United States of America, but really to the entire world was something that, you know, we took a lot of pride in. But Aaron, there's no doubt about it. It was weird. It was no fun, and we never want to do it again.
Here on that regard. Another race coming to Atlanta, the Quaker State 400, which it's been an Atlanta staple for a while, but correct me if I'm wrong, it hasn't been at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the last almost a decade, right?
Yeah, the Quaker State 400 presented by Walmart will be here July 10th and 11th. It's been over a decade since we've hosted a second race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And, you know, in 2010, the last year we had 2 races. We had no idea that just a few months later we would announce that we would lose our second race. And it's something we've been working real hard to try to get back to Atlanta Motor Speedway since we lost it, really. 2011 was the first year without the second race. So, you know, we're beyond thrilled to be able to have NASCAR back in the state of Georgia for a second visit in July, and something that, you know, we hope is a mainstay on our schedule. We're one of the most iconic tracks on the circuit. We've been running races since July 31st, 1960. So for us, it's what we do. It's what we love. So to have that second race back is really, really cool for us. And to have the partners at Quaker State and Walmart come on board, you know, we're excited about that, and look forward to hosting fans again in July. Hopefully by that time, millions of people will have been vaccinated, and we're able to open up more amenities. We're able to open up more seating options, and the entertainment experience for our fans will be somewhat more of a normal experience.
Now, I wanted to touch on that. You kind of jumped on my next question there is, you know,
sorry about that. Don't mean to jump ahead.
No, it means that we're on the same wavelength here. But, you know, from all the races that you've put together, and, you know, I assume you're a guy that likes to have his ducks in a row as you guys start to creep closer to a race weekend. But, you know, you're given the situation you have now here, you know, depending on when you're listening to this show, it's early March. That's when this episode's coming out. The first week of March, you know, we're starting to, you know, advance the vaccination plan and all that. And hopefully, as you mentioned, that means that more of the regulations start to ease up. When you're talking about a race coming up here in July, it's almost impossible, I would think, to envision what exactly you're going to have to work with. So as you're in the early stages of getting that race together, how many different plans do you have? You have like a plan A through K, if, you know, depending on the amount of people you're allowed to have in, all the different things you can do, the pre-race festivities, all that stuff. How do you go about that?
This has been a very fluid situation for the past year. So we've learned to be ready to pivot, right? So if I had to tell you right here, the first week of March, our plan for the Quaker State 400 presented by Walmart is identical to the plan for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. You know, it's the best we can do is prepare for what we know today. But Aaron, I would tell you again that we fully expect for restrictions to be lifted to some degree. Governor Brian Kemp has been great to work with, extremely proactive in allowing us to move forward in a safe manner. Sherry Matthews, the county manager for Henry County, and all of the local government authorities have been great to work with, the local Department of Public Health. So I can promise you that we will be ready to pivot as restrictions get lifted. We're excited about the opportunity. And, you know, we fully expect to have more amenities open, more grandstands open, and more entertainment options as we move forward towards July. But I don't have a crystal ball. I wish that I did. We'll be ready, I can assure you.
Now, part of the point of this show is to find local people in sports, in your case, at a national level, and find out how they got to where they are now. Now, there are a lot of race fans out there that would love to be in your seat as the general manager of a major super speedway. But you started as an intern. And I'm curious the path that you took. I believe you're over 4 decades long in the sport here. What has been the journey like? I believe over 3 or approaching 3 in Atlanta, uh, from day one as an intern to when you got this current gig. How would you kind of wrap that all up if you were to tell your story?
Well, you're aging me a little bit, Aaron. It hasn't been 4 decades.
Okay.
I must need to go to the spa or something and try to get my youth back. But no, this is my 26th year at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I would tell you that growing up in Atlanta, I was always into sports. I always played sports. You know, I went to college at Georgia Southern University, was a communication arts major with an emphasis in public relations. And, you know, when I crossed the threshold of knowing that I wasn't going to be a professional sports athlete, I knew very quickly that I still wanted to be in sports. So there was an internship available at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I came to work here in March of 1995. The last day of my internship, there was an opening in the events department. I went to the president and GM at that time, Ed Clark, and told him he didn't even need to look anywhere, that I was right here. He made me sweat it out for about a month, but in July of 1995, I came on board as the track rental coordinator. And, you know, I'm just a normal dude, and you're right. You know, it's a very cool position for me to be in. I know that there are thousands of NASCAR fans that would like to be in my seat. And to them, I would say, while you can't be in my seat, I don't want you in my seat because I like my seat. I would tell you that you've got a sports fan that is in the seat. You've got a blue collar guy that really cares about the customer service initiatives at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You know, the most important thing to me is that our fans have a good experience at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I've just been blessed. You know, I've been very fortunate. I never for one moment thought about leaving Atlanta Motor Speedway. I knew that I wanted to be here. I dedicated myself to it. And, you know, like I said, I've been very blessed. I've had a little bit of luck. And 26 years later, here I am.
When you gloss over all the years of work that you did there, I'm sure that there's been a ton that you have accomplished over that span. But, you know, from job, when you start as an intern, what were some of the responsibilities you were doing compared to some of the responsibilities you're doing now? Obviously, we know you're putting together major races on the Cup Series right now. How does that compare to job one? And the reason I'm asking this is because I feel like there's a lot of folks that want to get to your seat, but they might get disenchanted by some of the jobs and some of the things you got to do along the way to work your way up the ladder.
That's a great question, Aaron. You know, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of setting goals and making sure that you stick with them and just never taking your eye off the ball, for lack of a better term, you know. And you're right. There are some jobs that I can remember doing as an intern. I can remember counting license plates in the parking lot at one of our car shows. I can remember my boss at the time, we had this, one of the components of a car show we had was this big fire-breathing electronic dinosaur, and he had trouble lighting a concession stand on fire that we were trying to burn up as a big spectacle. And they gave me a can of gas and said, go in there and throw the gas in the concession stand. And when I went in, they had made a hornet's nest very mad. So, you know, I remember that. I remember, you know, late nights, 4 a.m. directing traffic, cleaning up grandstands. I've done just about everything that you can imagine here at the Speedway. You know, a little while ago, you mentioned having my ducks in a row, and I'm an OCD. I'm a dot your I's, cross your T kind of guy. I'm a schedule guy. But I'm far from having my ducks in a row. You know, I'm scattered all over the place. I would like to say that, you know, if it weren't for the people that worked here with me, we just wouldn't be able to put on in these events. You know, what has changed for me today is I'm a doer. I like to know the details. I like to be out there with the people, talking to the people, helping the people, directing traffic, making things go smooth, making sure the place is clean. And today I find myself, at the state capitol, talking to the governor, talking to the governor's staff, talking to lobbyists at the Capitol, working with our local government to make sure that we can race, and just making sure that the team here has the resources they need to do their job well. Because again, they know all the details. At this point, I don't know all of the details that it takes to put all of our events on. I've done them before. I know what goes into it, but we've got a great team here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So, it's tough for me. Like I said, I'm a doer. I want to be the one doing. And now I find the staff here saying, you know what, Brandon, why don't you just go ahead and stay at home? Or why don't you just go over there and help us with that? And what that's code for, because I've been on that side of it, is stay out of our way, because you don't know the details and you're just going to mess us up.
Now you've been in the sport for almost 3 decades now. I'm making sure I got my not a great math guy. So I apologize for that.
That's all right.
I'm curious, just for race fans that are watching this, do you have any good stories? I mean, Atlanta Super Speedway, it's one of the originals. Been around for a long time. You've seen a lot of great talent come through those doors and step on that track. Are there any good stories that you can share with race fans that maybe we don't know about?
Wow. Great question, Aaron. There are a ton of stories. Just the experiences that I've been able to have throughout the years are second to none. I wouldn't trade them for the world. I was a part of Jeff Gordon's first championship. I was standing on stage with Jeff and his wife. I think it was probably about 1 a.m. after he won his first championship. I walked with Dale Jarrett after he won his championship in the late 90s. We were hit by an F2 tornado, so I've been part of a rebuild there. After Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away in Daytona on the last lap of the Daytona 500, and we came back to race, and Kevin Harvick got his first victory. I was in victory lane with Kevin Harvick as that went down, and that was a special moment. But I could go on and on. Some of the great people that I've met in the stands, our fans are our lifeblood, and so many relationships that I've been able to forge, so many great experiences. But to drill it down to just one experience, the coolest thing that I probably did was worked with the 101st Airborne in the early 2000s to deliver the pace car out of a Chinook helicopter. Worked with a lot of great people to make that happen. Worked with the 4-star General Doug Brown, the leading commander of the United States Special Operation Forces. So, to have 3 Blackhawks come in, to have a Chinook come in and land in our ball field and open up and deliver the pace car, there's just so many cool opportunities that I could go on and on for hours. But let me say this too. Not every story is a good one. We've had trials and tribulations. Of course, the pandemic this last year was something that none of us could expect, but there's been a lot of late nights. There's been a lot of stress. There's been a lot of heartache, but at the end of the day, I would do it all over again.
The Southeast is kind of, obviously we know what NASCAR is now, a national and international phenomenon, but the Southeast has always kind of been looked at, the Carolinas, Georgia, really as the birthplace of NASCAR. I'm curious, the local aspect of having multiple races there, when you have so many young fans that want to come see all the stars race on the Cup Series and, maybe take pointers if they're racing themselves. You have Chase Elliott win the Cup championship last year, who's a Georgia native. How important is that to make sure that the sport stays as strong as it is and continues to progress as we move from year to year?
Well, there's no doubt about it. The sport started running liquor out of the mountains of North Georgia. A lot of the race teams, engine builders, race car drivers, if you go back and look at the early history of NASCAR, their shops were right here in Atlanta, Georgia. They started right here in Atlanta, Georgia. It migrated to Daytona, then it migrated to Charlotte. And you're right, the Southeast is definitely the hub for racing. And, it's very important that we keep our traditions and our roots here in Atlanta. And that's why, for me, it's so special to be a part of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Again, we've been racing 500-mile races for many, many years. Our first race was July 31st, 1960. Fireball Roberts won that race. This past weekend in Homestead, a young man that came out of our Legends program, William Byron, won the race. Chase Elliott, not only the current NASCAR Cup Series champion, but the most popular driver in our sport. To have the name Elliott tied to somebody that's meant so much to us is really cool to see. There's so many race car drivers today that came out of racing right here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Joey Logano grew up. He says he's from Connecticut, but I can assure you he spent many, many, many nights racing right here on our quarter-mile Thunder Ring. And again, the names, the list go. Austin Hill in the Truck Series now. Daniel Emmerich, who you saw running so strong as we winded down the race in Homestead last week, came out of the Legends Car program. So the grassroots style racing is very important to us and something that continues to crank out successful NASCAR drivers.
Now, I want to get you're an Atlanta boy, so I want to get a couple thoughts from you. The Braves make a heck of a run last year. Weird 2020 season. It was weird for every sport. How gratifying was it for you to see them get over that hump, win a series, and they were one win shy of getting to the Fall Classic there?
Well, very gratifying to see them go that far and to see success, but yet another heartbreak for the city of Atlanta. And I know out of Greenville, you guys are Atlanta Braves fans, and it's just hard to see. If Soroka wouldn't have got hurt early in the season, who knows what might have been. But that's the story of being an Atlanta fan, whether it's the Falcons or the Braves. It just seems like we come up just a few minutes short or one game short. Same with the Georgia Bulldogs. The year the Bulldogs lost the national championship to Alabama was the same year that the Falcons should have beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. If you go back and rewind the tape, neither one of those teams trailed in either one of those games for 1 second. They led those games in their entirety and lost on the last play of the game in both of those games. And that's kind of the story of being an Atlanta fan. There's a lot of happiness when we do good, but it usually winds up with heartbreak.
As we get set to wrap up here, when you think about the path that you guys have taken to get to where we are now, NASCAR was the first to pause, but was also the first to come back. How much pride do you take being a part of a sport that has meant so much to so many folks?
We touched on it a little bit earlier. It was such a joy for us to be able to put cars back on track for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 in June of 2020, to be able to bring live sporting events back into the living rooms of so many people around the world. I think, was probably one of our proudest moments. The sport has been on an upward trend for the last couple of years. The momentum going into 2021 is as strong as I've seen it in a long, long time. And again, I've been here for 26 years. It's a little bit of a badge of honor to be the only professional sporting event that we ran a full season. We didn't run it on the scheduled dates, but we ran a full schedule. We crowned a champion, and for that, we're very proud. I'm honored to be a part of Atlanta Motor Speedway, Speedway Motorsports, and NASCAR as an industry. It's trajecting in the right direction. We've taken a lot of steps to be as inclusive as we possibly can. The Atlanta market is a very diverse market, and one that I couldn't be prouder to be a part of.
All right, as we get set to wrap up here, I want to remind folks that, big NASCAR races coming up at Atlanta Motor Speedway, March 20th and 21st, just 2 weeks from now, the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. Are there any tickets still available for that?
Yeah, we've got our Echo Park 250 and the Freight Auctions 200 on Saturday, March 20th. There's great seats still available for that. The Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 is on Sunday, March 21st. And I would tell you that as I sit here today, tickets are in high demand. We've only got a few tickets left. I would encourage people, if they're wanting to be here, to go online at atlantamotorspeedway.com and take a look at what seating options are available, and let us know you want to be here. Tickets are going fast. We will sell out.
And of course, the second race coming down the line in July, the Quaker State 400, first time in over a decade that it's been back there. So if you can't get out there in a couple weeks, make sure you get down to Atlanta Motor Speedway in July for that race weekend as well. Again, hopefully that picture looks even better than the one we have coming up here in a couple weeks. But boy, it is going to be a very great sight to see fans back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, see fans cheering on NASCAR on Sunday afternoons as they have for decades. And thankfully, we can hopefully put the pandemic in the rearview mirror, so to speak, and move on with a more traditional season this year. Brandon Hutchison, appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us. And it was really cool getting some insight on how you got into the chair you are. And good luck to you guys pulling off a great race weekend in a couple weeks.
Aaron, your time is very valuable. I appreciate you having me today. I would hope that the folks watching will choose to come out and join us at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've got 2 great NASCAR event weekends coming up, and we're excited about it and hope to see you at the racetrack real soon.
Brandon Hutchison, the General Manager, Executive VP of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us here on In Depth with Fox Carolina Sports. Another great guest coming up for you next week. Have a good one.